Inside the Game, brought to you by the all-new GMC Sierra. That's professional grade.
And as promised, the new president of the Vancouver Canucks, Trevor Linden, joins us from Vancouver. And Trevor, thanks for that. And congratulations on the new job. You just heard Grapes and I chatting a little bit about that 3-year window after 94 and after 2011 for Vancouver's run to the Cups in Game 7 is when the wheels seemed to come off. Do you see any parallels about what happened in 94, 3 years down the line? Because you guys bounced back with pretty good years, as did the 2011 Canucks with the President's Trophy, but now it seems a bit bleak.
Well, it's hard to say. I mean, certainly different eras and different situations, but the one thing I know is I have to take my time in this situation and really download all the data I can and try to dissect exactly why this team is where it is. And next week's a big week for me. Obviously, have the chance to talk to the coaches and do all the exit interviews with the players. So I hope to learn a lot of information on that.
I'm curious about exit interviews with the players, Trevor. You obviously would have been part of them, and it seemed to be, again, a lot of hearsay, but it seemed to be the undoing of John over at New York, whether you believe that or not. But do you trust the players' input on a coach selection? Go ahead,
yeah. I think you really. First of all, John has got a great track record. He's been around for a long time. He's won a Stanley Cup, so I have a great deal of respect for him and his staff here. And I want to get to understand more about John's program next week. I think you have to really look at certain players and understand what part they're coming from, and so you have to take everything with a little bit of grain of salt. It's not one player or two players, or I think, and then you have to assess from other things you've seen and just try to collect as much data as you can, and you certainly have to be careful with it all and process it and figure it out that way.
I can't imagine Henrik and Daniel saying, gee whiz, we were forced to kill penalties, forced to play too many minutes, because you did make the point on Bill Good's show. It was a great interview, because we don't have enough time, but you really emphasized 4 lines is important in your thinking and getting everybody on board. So maybe, Tim Hunter's story, why don't you explain it in that context and a little bit about the Sedin issue?
I think Pat taught me, interesting back in '94. Traded for Tim Hunter in January of '94. I never understood the trade, couldn't figure it out, and Pat's greatest skill was bringing his whole 12 people into the mix. And when you assign roles to players on the 3rd and 4th line, I mean, they take ownership, and that's important. So I've always had the belief that a well-rounded group of forwards, if you look at the Boston model, Thornton, 4th line guy, but such an important player on that team, and he's included and has a big role in that team, and that's what makes teams. And so I think you really have to distribute the ice time and give people an opportunity to feel like they're making a difference. And Pat was a master at that.
But naturally, when we have that conversation, it sounds like an immediate indictment of John. So how do you resolve that? Yeah.
I think that's something I want to understand, and obviously everyone. I mean, that's my philosophy. I mean, that's not the make or break situation. I mean, like I said, John's got a great track record. He's a Stanley Cup winning coach, so we need to sit down and talk about it. I need to hear his thoughts on not just that issue, but there's many issues.
Are you going to hire Pat Quinn?
You know what? I'm going to sit down with Pat. Obviously, for me, he was a real mentor. He's got a wealth of hockey knowledge, so we'll definitely sit down.
Here's another, John has a shot blocking philosophy, or it seems, and this hint is out there that a lot of the injuries for Vancouver this year were shot blocking injuries, and that these don't heal. And you kind of mentioned to Bill Good, you want to revisit the whole medical training, look at that part of the organization. Can you elaborate on that?
Yeah, I just think there's not any area of the organization that I don't want to get a full understanding of how it operates and how we can do it better. From the medical side, that's one area. I think partly there's been a lot made of the shot blocking thing. I think sometimes it's just coincidence. I mean, Alain Vigneault was no difference when I played for him. I mean, he wanted us to get in the shooting lanes. That was very important. So, whether that contributed to more or less injuries, it's hard to say. But any coach, I think, wants players to get in the shooting lane, and that's no different with John's system, and it makes sense.
Elliot Friedman said on the pregame show, number one issue has got to be Ryan Kessler. So where are you on that?
Yeah, I think I played with Ryan. Ryan was a rookie. I was his line mate. I think it was his first centerman back in 2003, the poor guy. But I need to sit down with him and talk to him and understand where he's at. I haven't spoke to Ryan about anything. And so I'm coming in very neutral, and I want to understand where he's at and where we go and how we move forward.
Could it be off ice? The scrutiny in a Canadian city is too much for Ryan. Is that it, or is it just?
I mean, that might be part of it. I don't know, and that's important. I mean, Ryan is a big piece of this team. Obviously, he's a tremendous player, and that is probably. And that, as you said, is a very big situation that we're going to have to deal with and understand how we move forward.
Well, listen, Trevor, you've been great for the last few days. You've been very accessible. It's a joy for the Vancouver Canucks fans, and congratulations on the appointment.
Thanks, Ron. Appreciate it.
President of the Canucks, Trevor Linden. Still think of his special night against the Calgary Flames, his last game, something.